And KT did go ahead and select first pick for this first draft.
Seen a lot of teams kind of varying. You know, some are still holding on to the first pick, which obviously the LCK Cup, it was just all first pick when you had the choice. But a lot more second pickers now when they have the option. So, see how that goes. Ezreal, the first ban from KT. Obviously a pick that Diable can pop off on, but also quite a safe, stable pick. Does kind of move with the priority on picks like Jarvan, which we know Cuzz is very good on. But they banned the Jarvan themselves, so...
Yeah.
Not necessarily going to pick that. One thing is that with Ezreal, Jarvan being two of the bans already, there's a lot of OPs that are going to get through. You know, there's still Rumble, there's still Karma, Pantheon that are on the cards, and we only have 2 bans left. So that first pick from KT is going to be big. But the thing is, what can BNK FEARX get in return?
There's also Bard that's always floating around. I don't really think these 2 supports are the first couple that I think of for that pick, but he's been very powerful nowadays, and a lot of people are picking Bard up and getting better at him. Even Delight had an excellent game on him recently. So it could be something that I don't think will be banned, but could be picked as Pantheon is taken away.
I think it's hard to ban Karma or Rumble. I think Karma's the one you may be more worried about, but you know, if you ban one, they get the other. So maybe they go in a different direction and trade them. If they ban the Rumble, this is most likely just going to be a first pick Karma then for KT. And immediately, you know, the strong point for BNK FEARX for the longest time has been that bot lane 2v2. Now you're playing into Karma, which immediately puts you on the back foot. At least it can't be Karma Ezreal, so there's something for that. But how are you going to match the firepower this pick offers in lane? And Karma did get some slight nerfs in this patch, but it was like a base AD, a AD scaling, a shielding mana. It really doesn't change what makes her so strong very much in the laning phase. Now, BNK FEARX will grab Caitlyn and Zhao. Zhao definitely the highest prio jungle left available. This kind of denies the Caitlyn Karma from coming through. It'll be interesting to see what they end up pairing it with, because obviously there's the Nico, the Lux, which are options you can go for. Jhin Karma. Really strong. I think with Ezreal gone, it's probably the pairing you lean on most.
I'm interested to see what kind of support we get here for Kellin. Thinking we saw Yuumi, we saw Bard. Just talking about the Bard. He wants something that can actually help Caitlyn get through this lane. Caitlyn herself, with her range, will do all right, but they are going to go for the Bard.
I feel like KT have a big advantage already here, because the Caitlyn, you know, Bard's a range champion who has a bit of sustain, right? So he's not going to get completely bowled over compared to picking, like, I don't know, an Alistar here, which we just get annihilated. But he's also not going to make you win the lane. And if you're playing Caitlyn and you're just gradually losing the lane, or heavily losing it if you end up misplaying, then you're not really getting the most value out of Caitlyn. Like, I don't think Diable's going to get much opportunity to be hitting plates. And you also have Zhao and a Trundle. So if you go bot lane a gank and Trundle shows up, you're in for a terrible time.
Yeah, and Cuzz is a big Trundle enjoyer. We don't have a lot of Trundle nowadays, but it was oftentimes picked against Zhao in the past. And even nowadays, I think we saw that matchup recently as well. So definitely going to be big comfort for Cuzz, and he's been excellent nowadays as Annie. A lot of mid focus. I wonder where Ryze falls on this list, if either side wants to take that away.
Yeah, I think, you know, with the bans coming in, it's like there's not that much Ryze prio anymore with the counters we've seen to him, and we haven't seen any of those counters kind of banned out. I think Ryze is still individually a really strong pick, but, you know, we've seen the Anivia do a pretty good job of shutting him down. We know the Cassiopeia in the right hands can do it as well. So maybe if you end up leaving mid to later, but I mean, I feel like it'd have to be BNK FEARX blinding top, which I'm not sure they're going to do. I think Aurora's probably one of the mid laners that's still pretty strong and available. Gnar gets banned, so Renekton prio definitely moves up as a result of that.
There's an excellent Renekton player. He's 3-0 on the pick nowadays.
Don't fall for the bait, though. Don't fall. They want you to pick Renekton right now. Be like, oh, Gnar's banned. We can just Renekton. And you know No. Perfect's gonna pick like Vayne or something. They wanted this.
They fell for the bait. Oh no!
Okay, they're looking at the Ryze potentially. I mean, BDD's Ryze has been fantastic. Even playing it into things like the Orianna and being really solid in lane, winning that matchup. We'll see if Daystar is willing to bring out the picks to handle it. But now, I mean, I fully expect Perfect to bring out something like Vayne, based on what we've seen from him so far, and Clear's just not going to have a fun time. So... Oh, this is a surprise if he actually just goes for Cassante. In which case, Clear's completely fine.
Yeah, I feel like that's a bit strange for Perfect, but they're still going to go with it. Maybe they say, we want this for our composition.
Yeah, I mean, this is more akin to what we'd expect from Perfect last year. Obviously, into this composition, you know, there's a lot of AD already. You're very bulky as the Cassante. That being said, the Anivia does come through from Daystar, so picking that up to sort of deal with the Ryze. The wall also causes a good amount of issues for Trundle. You know, him having to run all the way around it. But I think overall, KT pretty happy with what they got in terms of composition. I'd say the Anivia into Ryze is kind of where BNK FEARX have their edge. But like the bot lane 2v2 is great for KT. Top lane, I mean, it's just mostly going to be a farm fest. Renekton, if Clay's playing it well, should have prio, could have some pressure. But like the jungle matchup's good for KT. It's mostly only the mid lane. And if BDD plays it well and just, you know, finds opportunities to move, it's completely fine. But yeah, I am a little surprised that Perfect didn't just slam the Vayne. That's kind of what we've seen from him so far in this regular season.
Yeah, especially with an AD carry like Jhin, who, you know, he's been putting up bigger numbers nowadays, but you could have done pretty well, I'd say, with like a 3-threat comp with Ryze, Jhin, and Vayne. But instead, it seems like they really just wanted some extra frontline. I mean, Trundle, with his Subjugate, obviously can get pretty tanky, but maybe they say we need a little bit more. As I'm very interested to see Daystar here on the Anivia, to see how he does do into the Ryze. Chovy said that Anivia wins 9 out of 10 times into Ryze in the 1v1, but maybe we'll get some help from our junglers as we hop on the rift for game 1. Alrighty, game number 1. And I hope that BNK FEARX have a good strategy here to deal with KT. It feels like, you know, whoever's on top, every team knows that they're in for a challenge, so they prep extra hard to try to figure them out and find some weaknesses, but nobody's been able to beat them yet.
So interesting we see the cleanse from aiming. I mean, there obviously is things that you can cleanse this game, right? The Renekton, the Anivia, the Bard in lane specifically. But this doesn't feel like a high cleanse priority game, if I'm being honest. It's obviously, I have no doubt at some point in the game it will save him, but it does weaken your lane a bit, and I wonder if this is a factor in them saying, look, our lane is so strong, we don't even need barrier to come out ahead in the 2v2. So far, Effort just getting some damage down. But I mean, Diable's gotten a couple of good Peacemakers back in return, a stun from Kellin. Some okay trades back.
But you're not going to get level 2 against a Jhin. I mean, they're trying. Looks like they're about to hit it at the same time, actually, so good job there. And especially because Effort was kind of pushing to the alcove, maybe they didn't hit the minions all together and get it. Still going to respect it. Diable and Kellin backing away. But we do have Raptor still on the bottom side of the map. Looks like he's backing, though, after a full bot side clear. So no early level 3 ganks this game.
Yeah, I think, honestly, if aiming an Effort fast push to get level 2 really quickly, the wave would be in a spot where they're vulnerable to a gank, especially with a Bard. So I think them playing it slower and not crushing the wave immediately actually puts them in a much safer position, because I think if they were pushed up to this position where they are now, I think Raptor would have just got portaled in and they would have just killed them. We've seen so many level 3 ganks, especially towards the bot lane, and this is definitely a lane you want to disrupt if you can this early. So I think aiming an Effort playing that well to avoid that potential gank.
Yeah. You know, it's a lot of little things that sometimes leads to a team's success. And if they really did take cleanse because, you know, they don't necessarily need the strength, and although also they're playing with like the wave state in that manner, you know, that really proves that they have considered pretty much everything. at this point in time. And maybe Raptor was going to look for the gank, but he just backed instead because they didn't have an opportunity. As this is Daystar's first game of Anivia this season, and so far he's not putting on a lot of pressure.
Yeah, he's clearly doing pretty well in the 1v1 matchup. BDD managed to get a reset, get tier, and boots a lot of value in the Anivia matchup. So far, bot lane is doing okay, but not winning, you know, for BNK FEARX, which is kind of how we expected it to pan out. But I think some early trades did go well. The concern is, as Karma gets more points in her queue, and once Jhin gets to reset and get some items, it's a little bit trickier.
Yeah, it definitely can be. We've seen Chovy, especially on the Anivia against Ryze, do a really good job of just essentially abusing the fact that Ryze doesn't have any kind of dash or anything like that. You just put the wall behind with your ult, you get some help from your jungler, and if he doesn't have flash, he's kind of just dead. But Anivia also has to be careful. I mean, Trundle can be very nasty in some of the ganks with his pillar, especially with the help of Ryze.
Yeah, Trundle also has a lot of DPS. Like, if you get onto the egg, because some junglers, even if you get the egg, it's like kind of hard to kill them. But Trundle, if you have your W down and you get the egg, you can just chomp through it pretty quickly. So definitely something to respect. If you're overextended, you will just die. BDD trading very well in this matchup. And this is kind of the thing. I feel like sometimes, you know, there's how the matchup should go, and then there's how BDD makes it go.
Yeah.
And those are two completely different things. They start struggling a bit. He obviously has the second health bar that the egg provides, but you ideally want to be trading your first health bar for their health bar, and then you have the egg as a backup, so you're ahead. Not just losing the trade completely and like, oh no, I need egg just to stay in lane. That's not really how you want the matchup to go. And with level 6 being hit by BDD, him already having the lane in such a good spot now really unlocks him, unleashes him. I honestly wonder if you just don't proc egg as BDD until Daystar overextends, so you can potentially set up a gank. Because if you proc the egg, he'll just heal to full, right?
Yeah. Well, at least Daystar hits level 6 here, which is going to help him push and probably get it back in, I would imagine. As, he really is playing on a knife's edge, but he does get to back on a pretty good wave.
Yeah, the egg, you know. He was okay. We've seen more dangerous situations.
Yeah.
Okay, we do see Raptor moving up to pick up the Scuttle Crab. Cuzz and Effort coming to contest, though. This is a great skirmish for KT.
Raptors? Oh, it's going to get smited away by Cuzz. As now they're going to follow, and yeah, Raptor in a lot of trouble here. Even some help from the Jhin, a zoning Deadly Flourish that Raptor just says, well, I'm dead, so I can't really do anything. First blood will go over to Cuzz on the Trundle.
I think it's funny that Cuzz went to the Raptors and then was like, actually, I'm Trundle. I hate doing Raptors. I was like, you know what? It's not even worth it. But it's a great pickup from KT. And I think specifically, you know, we talked a lot about the bot 2v2, but the jungle support matchup of Trundle Karma into Bard and Zhao is so favored for KT. The fact they have BDD here as well, and aiming was moving to set up the route, even though it didn't connect, it just guaranteed the victory. But if Trundle is sped up and running at your Xin Zhao, it is just so hard for BNK FEARX to fight that one out.
Also notably, well, we got another aggressive trade here. Daystar's really struggling in this matchup, already down about 500 gold, especially with the assist that went to BDD. But Raptor, I think he was trying to look for level 6 on that Scuttle Crab. I think he had enough XP based on where we saw the bar. So if he hits it, he gets Crescent Guard, maybe he survives, but it just kind of felt like he was sticking around for too long, desperately trying to pick it up, and had to flash towards the magical journey just to get followed on it.
So. In fact, he flashed for the portal, and no one on KT used a flash. So the fact that they got that kill and his summoner and didn't have to commit any of their own, he was just very dead.
Yeah. So it kind of leaves you in an awkward position where Daystar's already struggling, and Raptor now is Zhao, who's behind without flash, who already had a hard matchup into the enemy jungler. So I don't feel like BDD is going to be pressured much at all in this mid lane matchup.
Yeah, we've seen F against some deep vision down, potentially setting up for like a move from KT to pressure bot. we've seen Kellin and Diable doing pretty good in this bot lane 2v2. I thought it would be... Again, I didn't think they'd get crushed, because I think Caitlyn Bard can hold up, but I thought they would end up a bit further behind than they currently are. So doing okay in these trades.
Kellin,
even in plates as well.
He kind of just like walked up to effort and took a bunch of damage.
Yeah, I think he heard what I was saying. I was like, oh yeah, I am doing okay. And then no
we
longer
can fight them. No, you can't. As yeah, we've seen a lot of Anivia into Ryze, and a lot of it has been Chovy into, you know, X mid laner, and it's looked really good. This matchup has not looked good at all for Daystars. Now, Raptor's in a lot of trouble. The Crescent Guard, these two really do not care about it, especially the Trundle. Look at that damage! That was insane! Over the wall, too, with the extension with his chomp. Just does not care at all. And Raptor's just getting bullied so hard, and now the bottom lane, Diable, no, he is going to flash away, but Kellin will not be as lucky. And says Cuzz as he picks up his 3rd kill on Trundle.
Just walks up and chomps down on Kellin. I mean, the vision was already set up so well by effort prior to this. You can see this red side jungle from BNK FEARX is just lit up like a Christmas tree. So when Raptor moves into his jungle here, there's full information for KT. BDD is moving, effort could have moved if he needed to, didn't need to. Notice that Cuzz just outside the Crescent Guard, so he doesn't get knocked back here. And then that chomp on the lowered resistances does so much damage. It's insane. This happened in the bot lane, so unfortunately Kellin didn't have his ult at the start of the Jhin ult, so he ults and it doesn't really achieve much of anything.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to disengage. Diable, nice net into flash to get out, but Kellin is just so dead here.
Yeah, it's a big problem. We already have Trinity Force for Cuzz, and it's not every day that you see a Trundle really run rampant on the Rift. Oftentimes, he just kind of sits back, you know, mats his farm, you know, he's there with the other jungler when the other jungler shows up, and eventually becomes kind of a pillar bot and subjugate bot, but this is a different kind of Trundle.
We're so used to like the utility role of Trundle, but when Trundle gets fed and gets ahead, especially into a comp that like has things like Zhao and Renekton who kind of need to dive in, oh, he just mangles them. It's so unfun. I will say in the 5v5, playing into Anivia Caitlyn can be a bit more uncomfortable for the Trundle, but if they just keep playing around these skirmishes until they're really far ahead, then KT are absolutely chilling.
And we have Perfect very far up in this lane, just proxying, putting on a lot of pressure. He doesn't have his TP, so maybe he wanted to hit the wave quickly and then back and perhaps group bot, depending on how that looks. Otherwise, he can run top, but Clear does have TP advantage at the moment.
Yeah, we have the Hextech into Chemtech dragons, so the no-tech souls,
yeah.
You know. I was just fishing around here, trying to get control of the vision.
And you can see that FEARX, they're kind of posturing, but at the end of the day, if this ends up being a 3v3, I don't see FEARX winning it by any stretch of the imagination, as they're going to ult in a trap on a Cuzz, but the Subjugate is already out. He basically took negative damage there. So, yeah. I mean, at least they got his ult, but that's about it. And meanwhile, this 1v1, Daystar is just getting wrecked.
Daystar is getting pressured so hard in this matchup, and now I think KT feeling confident they can set up for the dragon. Oh, Diable's in trouble.
Yeah, he doesn't have flash. You remember he used it on the bottom side against the Trundle, as now the tether comes in, but Raptor is here first, and the Magical Journey also available, but they have to know that Cuzz is coming down, and so essentially Raptor shows up to just save them. BDD also hanging around. Yeah, very spooky.
Aiming not the best aim there, funnily enough. But
well, he was aiming, but then he missed.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there's another player in all esports called Missing. So, but still got some good damage down, and enough to force BNK FEARX away, and they will be able to pick up the dragon. Oh, effort is just, you know, I think peak support play is frustrating for the enemy team.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, when supports are doing their best work, it's irritating to be against them, and that's really what effort has achieved so far this game. Just so often he's like behind the tower, he's harassing them, stopping recalls, just being a nuisance. So, you know, keep going is what I'm saying.
Yeah. He's definitely doing his job. You mentioned, you know, some of the nerfs that Karma got seemed like a very light tap to this champion. I mean, Karma's always been a problem just because her kit can be so obnoxious. Even in other roles, we've seen it in top, we've seen it in mid, obviously support.
She's just in support right now. She's so versatile because her laning is extremely good. She's good in skirmishes because, right, she gets so much power from the ultimate. The big shields, and then she doesn't scale as well as like a Lulu, for example, in terms of what it offers to AD carry, but like the AoE shielding is massive. It can give a ton of value. Like, she's not a Seraphine Lulu, but she just kind of ticks the box of kind of jack of all trades.
Yeah.
But honestly, her laning is so good that it's not even that. It's kind of master of laning.
Yeah. And they're going to go in on Effort, who is in a little bit of trouble, but he just flashes away. Now clear, very far ahead of the team, as we are going to have the Temper Fate to try to help him out. TPs are coming in, as Cuzz in a bit of trouble as well. The Raptor goes very aggressive to take him out, and he will be able to do at least that, but it's a trade back here for KT is now perfect. Finds Diable, forces the flash, as he just got that one up, as BD goes over and picks up the kill. So a 2-for-1 in favor of KT.
Yeah, get the shutdown on a Cuzz. So I think Raptor going that deep, you know, that specifically paid off. But the problem is into Jhin, it's just so hard to disengage. Perfect in the backline was such an issue they couldn't immediately deal with. Just don't have the damage to cut through him. A-Star still struggling in this matchup.
Yeah, once again, down some gold already.
When you just look at the minimap, look at the area which KT was playing around, and like just the sheer saturation of wards. Effort is just lighting up everywhere they want to play. They just have full vision in the vicinity. Now, Effort does get engaged initially here, which is an ideal position for Karma to be in. The Tempered Fate sets up a trap, which chunks out Cuzz, and Raptor commits. He's like, I'm going to get this kill. The problem is, after the fact, you have Perfect TPing in, you have the Jhin coming down. If everyone could have just stopped the fight after that first trade of kills, BNK FEARX would have been happy, but that's just never going to happen against a Jhin with the K'Sante TPing in. Now, BDD is going for a flank here.
Yeah, this is a 5v5. Raptor's already taking a lot of damage, and Perfect's tanking up everything on the right side. Daystar very much isolated from the rest of the squad, though, and should go down to the egg here. Although, he is able to actually get away for now.
Yeah, the wave, they can push it in. Oh, the snipe comes through, and Cuzz is there with the damage.
Very sad for my boy Daystar. Not very fun situation for him, but kind of surprised that FEARX started up that Herald in the first place.
He did. I mean, it's not great, right? They lose top tower, he goes down, but him surviving the initial attempt from BDD at least buys some time for Diable to get some plates mid. They're still very far behind, though, at this point. Do you see Raptor just in the vicinity of Herald? As you said, though, I think it was odd, them starting it up. They are at a pretty solid deficit. It's Mountain Soul, which with this KT composition, I think is just going to be so hard to punch through.
Yeah.
I mean, you already have Diable's on Stormrazor, and that's it.
And he didn't even have Flash. You know, like, some of these extra things, it's almost like they tried to sneak it or something.
Yeah.
And KT were like, what? No? Raptor says...
Run it back.
Yeah. Second time's the charm.
But the thing is, as this is happening, so once again, look at Effort, right? Effort is just getting complete vision control over the bot side of the map. And you can see that obviously BNK FEARX have done the same on the top side. But it does mean in 30 seconds when this dragon comes up, BNK FEARX have to rush and try and contest this bot side vision. It looks like they're going to try and move through the mid prio to get this. Aiming will back away and respect this attempt. Effort's resetting for wards. But if BNK FEARX don't get this dragon, they're in such a dire position. Herald's going to come down. And they should be able to pick up the tower.
There's a lot of aggression here in mid from FEARX that's just not really being answered by KT. They're just kind of leaving BDD bot. And BDD does not have TP as he is Ryze and took Ghost. A second charge here on the Rift Herald, and a decent amount of work put in here by FEARX in the mid lane. We'll see if they can actually set up something on the Dragon, but everything you said is true because they have so much work to try to push through all this vision right now.
Yeah, I think, you know, the push in mid went well, but notice how they're retreating to the top side of the map. FEARX is TPing out. You know, stun got used, and he's like, okay, I'm not dying to you. But you see the issue. So they pushed through mid aggressively. They got value from the Herald Shear, but then they didn't feel comfortable rotating through the bot side of the map because they didn't have vision there. They didn't clear out the vision, they didn't push in. And this third dragon is just going over to KT. And if you get a Mountain Soul with this KT composition, like how is Diable ever killing this Cassante? And then you add a Mountain Soul.
Yeah.
It's just, he's going LDR second, which, you know, warranted. But I don't think that's going to resolve all your issues.
Yeah,
fortunately.
I think this Caitlyn's going to need at least 3 items. I would say 4.
Yeah.
To start really pumping the damage. I mean, Daystar is 2,000 gold behind. Diable himself is pretty far behind on top of, you know, all the extra gold that Aiming has picked up from the 2 kills and the assists.
And maybe, you know, we talked a lot in draft about Perfect going for the Cassante, not going for the Vayne, which we kind of expected. Maybe this is the reasoning, right? He is now just an absolute beefcake in this game, and he's such a problem for BNK FEARX to deal with. He also has a lot of CC set up, which he didn't really have before, so Aiming can just sit back and ult and not really be threatened. 3,600 gold lead, pretty significant at this point. And BNK FEARX need to find a way pretty soon. You have, you know, almost 4 minutes, just under, to find a way back into this game. Because I think if the soul goes over, your chances of winning just plummet.
Yeah, for now, just going to play it slowly, farm it out. Even the fact that they were able to get the Rift Herald was surprising to me, so a small win there, but the trade was not feeling too great. And yeah, I mean, 3.5 minutes. Diable, at least he's posted up in mid as trying to set something up on an Aiming, but he is very fast here on the Jhin.
Yeah, nice from Effort to speed him up with both the shield and the heal.
Yeah.
I think it's still an okay attempt from Kellin. You know, if you'd gotten a flash or something there, it would have been great, but the problem is, every time you go for an attempt like that, it doesn't result in the play. The time is ticking, is what I'm trying to say, towards that next dragon. Now, Cuzz is chunked out.
He's taking a lot of damage. He is going to have to throw out the Subjugate just to make sure he doesn't die.
You know, BNK FEARX are fishing and burning resources. They're trying to find angles. It's the right move to make. Oh, Effort's in trouble.
Yeah, he's already slowed up. The flash angle here from Kellin is excellent. They do take out Effort in the mid lane. And it's a nice little catch to get them a little bit closer in gold.
Yeah, well played by Kellin. You need a pre-flash that as Effort. He waited, and then as soon as the Q has hit you, even if you flash afterwards, the tether connects the terrain. So, you know, Effort was just already dead when he flashed there. And it's a great play from Kellin.
Hide on Bush, and it's not Faker, it's BDD. And he goes down to Egg. BDD, very tanky here. He is going to try to burst down this Egg as much as possible. One more rotation should get it, but it's not quite enough. Yeah, the heal comes through, and BDD forced a flash.
That was so close there, actually. I think Kellin did save him with the heal there. Down to the wire, honestly. I wonder if he also had Echoes of Hellier stacks built up to make the heal even bigger.
Yeah.
But BDD, I mean, at this point of the game, you obviously have a lot more damage as Ryze. You can just kind of burn through the Egg in time, but there just didn't quite have enough with the healing that came through from the Bard. And also Daystar now has a Seraphs to give him a bit of extra defensive. This is still not how you want this mid lane matchup to be going for BNK FEARX.
Raptor's in a pretty rough spot here, although that's a big ult coming in from Kellin. Might save the play. Cuzz is already dead. Effort runs onto a trap, nearly dies himself, but now Perfect here as they will take down Raptor, and now it's getting a bit messy. Perfect in the front line and Aiming behind him, doing a pretty good job. But Daystar and Diable still alive and chunking out this Cassante eventually, as the tank's just a little bit too scary and both teams back off.
Yeah, struggling to cut through that Renekton a little bit. I think the fact that Cuzz went down so quickly, didn't even end up using his ultimate, kind of just flopped. You know, losing Cuzz and also the threat he kind of has for picks like Renekton, pretty big blow. I guess it was that stun on the wall. The wall placed by Daystar into the stun just caught him off guard. He didn't think there was anything that was going to CC him, so he'd be able to ult in time. And so as a result, he just kind of got exploded, clear. Very strong at this point on the Renekton. You know, he is ahead lane, but also just this is prime Renekton time, so they can't really cut through him quick enough. you kind of need the Trundle there to hold him accountable.
Yeah.
So that was good from BNK FEARX. You know, the gold lead a little bit closer. Some summoners burnt. Well, the cleanse from aiming mostly, to be honest. But Dragon is now up. And once again, it's KT with control. The warding isn't as deep as we've seen before.
Yeah.
Isn't as saturated in the enemy jungle. They are trying to claim control of this banana brush. You can see, though, this flank from Clear.
Yeah, it's really the main issue. Aiming also in an awkward spot up there, trying to just get a good Jhin angle, but it looks like they have spotted Clear, and so they're going to respect it. They back away. They push him away from the objective. Perfect tanks it up. Cuzz is in the pit. Might just come down to a bit of a flip here, as it does go the way of Raptor. And that's going to be pretty huge. They're stacked up for a ton of damage. Subjugate does come out, keeps Cuzz alive. Perfect is also surviving basically forever, but now Clear has the angle on the right side, and aiming is getting pretty low. Might have to back away from this one. FEARX, they get the Drake, and they get a pretty good fight. Looks like they're looking for a little bit more, but everybody's scattering, and they should be able to get away here, as now we have an ult coming out from aiming. Oh, meanwhile, Effort just kind of
died to the turret.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Did he not have the shield cooldown? Or, I mean, maybe he just took 2 hits? I think you can walk between and only take 1 hit there.
Yeah.
I think if you're like small enough size, you can actually just slide through. It's really hard. But anyway, this was great from BNK FEARX. The double tempered fade into just melting the front line. And aiming's trying to find an angle to hit. He's kind of walking through the glacial storm. It's really awkward. BDD, he just realm walks behind for the flank. And he kills Kellin, but you know, Kellin's done his job already. I think this was good setup from BNK FEARX, using the Anivia well, and KT just not really finding a route in, and that front line just honestly getting massacred. And when you look at the itemization, other than the Merc treads, there's just no magic resist on this front line. You know, it's perfect going Thornmail Randuin's Chain Vest. He gets shredded by this Anivia. You get trapped in the glacial storm, and you just get melted. And I think that really was a bit of a core issue there. I think they need some more magic resist on this front line.
Yeah.
Maybe just kind of saw how the mid lane matchup was going and was like, hey, we don't need magic resist, you know.
Yeah, also it feels like in these mid-game fights, this Renekton is just getting a lot more value compared to the Cassante. We saw the level lead that Clear has. Now he's level 16. And Perfect, you know, he's tanking. He's doing a good job, you know, as a player, but as the champion Cassante at this point in time, he is still getting shredded. And as this comes along and Caitlyn picks up more and more items, you know, even if you do have a lot of armor, the Anivia is going to get you, and eventually Diable will as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Aiming has the IE now. He's in a good spot. Kind of needs his pen item as well to really kind of hit critical mass. But Diable's picked up IE. You know, Storm Razor, LDR, IE. This Caitlyn is going to be online now, going to actually be doing more significant damage. 4 items, I think, is when really it's going to hit like a truck, but you've kind of passed over the trough we normally see with Caitlyn. And that LDR is going to come in very handy into both Perfect and Cuzz.
You see these two going at it. Perfect still pretty far away from level 16, so it's a pretty large gap in terms of the XP difference between these two. Perfect will be okay against the Renekton because he has like 8,000 armor. Well, 310, but that's still a very still a very large number into the Renekton and into the Caitlyn. Obviously, we have BDD heading down bot, but
BDD now has Actualizer, so he is very strong.
Yeah,
on the back of that.
Meanwhile, Daystar himself not going for the Actualizer, actually picking up the Blighted Jewel. Is now looking for Diable, or at least looking to pressure mid. They're gonna have the curtains open. Diable kind of in an awkward spot, but I think he's safe.
Yeah, Temporary Fate comes down just to stop the Jhin. Oh, some heavy fighting going down here.
I mean, Perfect's down 2 levels, and I said, you know, he should be safe against these two that are doing damage to him, but he is so deep in the enemy jungle that eventually you will just die, and that is exactly what happens with the help of FEARX. The rest of the team does come over.
You know, that's the thing with Renekton. You have a lot of armor shred with the Black Cleaver. If you have the empowered Slice and Dice that has armor shred too. But also, like, your ult does a lot of magic damage, like a lot. We've talked extensively, like a level 17 Renekton, your ult does so much taking magic damage. I think Perfect just overstepping quite a lot there, gets caught out, and you're starting to feel the game really slipping away from KT. You know, we talked about the importance of their soul, but unless they secure it, the dragons don't mean
in the jungle.
He's so deep. And I think he was just kind of like, hey, I'm Cassante, I can always just drag someone over the wall to get away. Well, you know, they have a bard who can just follow you over the wall.
Yeah.
That is a very easy thing for them to do.
Bard does a much better job of that. So now we do have this Mountain Drake coming up here. KT still looking for the Mountain Soul, but there has been so much time given over to FEARX to catch up and even take the gold lead. For Caitlyn to get through the trough, for Daystar even after a weak early game to eventually be a champion now. With 3 items at this point, I would imagine. KT do have control of the bush for now.
Yeah, you can see the vision's not amazing from either side, really. But they're trying to control, once again, this banana brush with those control wards. Clear's moving up here. And it's BNK FEARX who are pushing KT out right now.
Yeah, doing a pretty good job. You see Raptor was able to get in the banana brush, and now we got a wall up. It stuns the 2 of them. Effort. Awkward spot has to flash away. Perfect. Not so lucky. Wants to hold on to his flash, and now Cuzz trying to frontline here on the right side. He is getting burned through, even with the subjugate up on to clear, as now Perfect has to flash away. BD's doing a nice amount of damage to clear, but that's a Renekton. And, I mean, the damage win does go the way of FEARX here.
Anivia is just starting to completely take over this game. Just the threat of that wall just shuts down the front line of KT. They're looking for clear. He has flash, though.
Yeah, there is the flash. BD has his, and here he goes. I mean, with the help of this curtain call, should be able to, yeah, just land the root. Looks like the curtain call was canceled. As Clear has nowhere to go but in, and then try to get out. But they take down Clear. Is it worth it? I mean, they get the top laner, but that's about it.
I think maybe the thought process was if we rush him, if we get him quickly, just go straight to Baron while they're still resetting. But he honestly, he bought a good amount of time, and he did chunk Cuzz a little bit. I think it was like it's a sort of play where if it's very quick and it just immediately happens, you could see them just immediately going to Baron off this, and it's still a bit risky. But I think the longer this takes, the scarier it gets, right? Cuzz gets chunked as well. Like, look how low Cuzz ends up. He was already low anyway, but I think it just makes them feel less and less secure about the play. They're actually going to start it now with 16 seconds on his respawn timer. But there's ample time for BNK FEARX to approach, and if you get trapped in that pit against an Anivia, you're in a terrible spot.
Just going to throw out the Tempered Fate right at the beginning, but Clear no TP, and still not alive. Raptor with flash and right over the wall. This is just going to be a flip as Raptor gets in, and he takes another objective down. Gets in, gets out with his flash, and all of a sudden, FEARX have a Baron just like that.
See wall coming down, trying to cut Cuzz off. I don't think you need to do more, though. Just stall them out, and you can push up mid, get that tower. Baron in pocket, KT really losing control of the game now. And it essentially just came down to a flip. They just let Raptor get access. Yeah, it was a rushed Baron. Definitely felt a little bit desperate. And the plan, the strategy just wasn't all there. Because they didn't have a clear way of keeping Zhao out. You have a Cassante. Cassante should really be checking the Zhao and stopping him from getting close. You have so much control with that pick and ability to just kind of lock up a jungler and put them miles away. So I think the fact that Raptor was able to get in and then flash out afterward just definitely showed that KT just really did not have that on lock.
Yeah, the idea itself was fine, as we saw. I mean, they were able to get a decent position on the objective. There was still no top laner. It was 5v4. It was, you know, it was a tight Baron play, but you know, the execution at the very end, not the greatest. As now we're looking for another play here onto the mid lane, as Cuzz takes it and says, "Well, I'm just gonna back away now."
Yeah, you can see VDD just thinking over, do I want to go through this? You know, perhaps not. It might be dangerous, especially if I get Tempered Fate on the other end. But it just gives space for BNK FEARX to push up bot lane. Perfect once again being heavily threatened by this Anivia.
And Daystar, again, didn't have the most fun early game, but the mid to late game fights have been solid from him. He's doing his job, putting up the walls, doing a lot of DPS. It's going to be perfect in an awkward spot. Forced to go forward. We got a trade of ults between Jhin and Bard. And this push from FEARX, I mean, they're trying to catch someone as Perfect once again going to be in a rough spot. Gets trapped up and has to get away.
This is so unplayable for the K'Sante.
Yeah. Really an unfortunate feeling for him. But the biggest thing is that, you know, they don't really get anything out of this push. I mean, they got the bottom inner, but not the inhibitor turret.
It just kind of comes down to that next dragon again. You know, BNK FEARX have a lead. It's not a huge lead for this point of the game, but they've managed to pull ahead. But there's still the threat of Soul. But to be honest, the thing with Mountain Soul is strong, but I feel like it's the sort of Soul that's like, the sooner you get it, the better. You know, that extra shield, if you get it in the mid game, is just like impossible to cut through. At this point, it's still, don't get me wrong, it's definitely still a very strong Soul, but I don't think it's like a deal breaker if KT get it right now. So, you know, we'll see if KT can find a way in. It would definitely boost their win chances.
Perfect just TP'd from the base to the mid lane.
Yeah, wanting to get the big shield and then just consumes it by getting headshot by Diable.
He's like, listen guys, I'm going to clear up this trap line. It's very difficult to hit those Semper Fates in that manner. We saw this a couple times already, where if the Karma's there, she just kind of shields you and you run away. Yeah,
you can see BDD going like a mega flank, pushing in the side lane, trying to apply some pressure there. I mean, obviously with Realm Orb, pretty safe, but now Raptor's just starting the dragon already, and I don't think there's a way for KT to easily get in here against Caitlyn and Anivia.
Yeah, BDD's still on this massive flank. I mean, they know he was down there, but this dragon is gone. Like, he's not going to get into the pit. That's already 3 Mountain Drakes for the side of FEARX.
Oh, they're looking to fight now, though.
Yeah, BDD getting in there saying, I'm going to actualize you right now. And Daystar in a rough spot, already in the egg. And BDD takes a bit of damage, but he is just pumping it out as well. They take out Diable. BDD is still alive in this one and has done so much work in the fight. But now these beefy frontline targets, can they chew through them is the question for KT. Clear gets on top of Aiming, but Aiming is just sprinting away. As Raptor as well, trying to do his best, but the healing, the shielding, and the speed is a little bit too much for the Renekton and the Zhao. They get the Drake, though. You can see that FEARX are still trying to get a bit more. We got the curtains opened up as well. As Raptor looks like maybe his GA is gone. And perhaps he didn't actually hit that one. I'm not even sure how he managed that. As now Perfect is down. Cuzz is taking the turret. And they do finally get him, but oh, it's messy, man.
It is so messy from KT there. They don't get the dragon, they win the fight, but in the end, so many members of the team die trying to finish off Raptor that they can barely capitalize on the team fight win. Now, I think to beat this Anivia Caitlyn, you have to circumvent their backline. You have to find a way to come behind them. I was thinking they'd find an angle for K'Sante to get in. And Perfect does flash forward, but it's BDD who leads the charge. And he's taken so much damage, but he's just pumping damage in return as much as he can. Eventually, he does go down, but he's done his job.
The raid boss.
Literally. And then it's a very chaotic fight afterward. Effort surviving with the Mantra W and dodging the Wind Become Lightning, and then Aiming, just trying to kite it out while he's reloading. It's a hectic fight, but with, you know, the main carries from BNK FEARX down, you're thinking, oh, well, it's guaranteed it's won. And then a couple of flubs. That missed shot, kind of unforgivable given that you had the slow for the pillar. But then just everyone dying here.
Yeah.
You know, effort, it's an execute at least, but it's just not convincing.
They're just trying to go head-to-head with BDD here, but I'm not sure if he really does. He's just going to TP out.
He realized that. Will TP out, and they don't have a TP on BDD, so he has to make his way there. And he's such a massive factor in KT's power that him being late really weakens them as a team.
They can at least poke a little bit with the Jhin. You can see that BNK FEARX not exactly confident on this objective. Already a bit of damage has gone into Kellin. Is now Perfect. Is just kind of sending it into the enemy team. And he says, thank you for the magical journey. I will use that to get out. As now Cuzz is taking massive amounts of damage, even from the Baron helping out. And that'll be the end of the KT jungler. Very low health bars here, though, on the side of FEARX, and Aiming, he is just chomping at the bit. He wants to fourth shot someone. but nobody will make themselves available.
They want to stop the recalls. They want to TP Perfect back in so they can clean this up. If they let them reset, because it's down for 35 seconds, it could be Baron for BNK FEARX. You can see already the Raptor's reset now, and it's trying to get back over. Looks like we'll just go for full resets on BNK FEARX. They don't want to risk it. Even with the enemy jungler down, they don't want to overstep when Dragon is so soon. They kind of were forced to go for this very early because BDD wasn't there and the Baron was getting low. They do realm more BDD in, but again, it's the front line of KT that is struggling so much. I do like the shenanigans on Perfect to kind of escape using the magical journey, but Cuzz doesn't have that luxury. He's trapped by the wall, which now just covers the entire river, and there's nothing he can really do. Playing a mobile champion into Anivia is just miserable, especially as a frontliner.
Yeah. And Anivia was the last pick. I mean, he knew what he was playing into. He knew how much value he was going to get. Not to mention the mid lane matchup. As now we got another fight coming in here. Tempered Fate on to the curtains opening, and somebody's just going to have to pull the trigger. As in they go, they find Diable on the back line, and down will go Kellin, down goes Diable, and that's the bottom lane just out of the game. As Aiming has a lot of room here on the right side, only dealing with the Renekton, and Raptor's not able to help at all. As the flank comes in from BDD, and they're able to line up a big team fight win. KT, they want to end this game now.
Yeah, Raptor's trying to clear up the wave. He does get rid of it. Death time is a long. They don't have the fastest tower. I mean, they have Trundle, actually. The tower takes pretty fast. But without a wave, I think they're opting to go for the Baron instead. This is just BDD just completely understanding what needs to be done. You know, it's not a clean job, but he'll do it. Just gets into the back line, and they focus him. They put so much damage into him. You know, you have Daystar flashing onto him. But he gets in, he puts the damage down. Perfect is there to make sure the AD carry can't function. And he knows they have to circumvent the Anivia and the Caitlyn just standing there and holding their line. So he keeps finding these great flanks, and it's typically something you expect from picks like, you know, like a Carly, or you expect from like a lot of top lane picks like Renekton. But he's just doing it on Ryze, and he's making it work. He is completely carrying this game for KT now, because Cuzz and Perfect have been struggling. And I will say, Perfect is following up on BDD when he goes for these, but it has not been fun for them. And BDD is kind of just salvaging this tough situation. Now, Mountain Soul going to get picked up again. This late in the game, you know, it's not that much extra health, effective health, compared to if you picked it up in the mid game, but it's still, when you think of how BDD is playing, that extra tankiness will make a difference. It is a significant increase to their power. But they still need to play these fights correctly. If they just do the same thing they were doing before, where, you know, Perfect and Cuzz get melted by the Anivia, Mountain Soul's not going to make a difference. But if BDD's getting on the back line, it absolutely will.
Yeah, he just keeps finding the angles, and he was on Vision on the top side, but they didn't pull off of the Baron right away. I feel like if BDD's in that spot, like that has been how FEARX have lost any fight that they've lost in this game, is with the BDD flanks. I feel like they really need to say, we need to check all the boxes, make sure BDD's not on the flank, or if he is, we need to immediately respond. Whereas they have not been able to do that just yet. And Daystar is really struggling here against the Trundle pillars, because, you know, he can also affect the Anivia, although obviously the Anivia is having a bigger effect on Cuzz so far this game. You only have so many pillars. And now with the Baron, you see KT are trying their best to just 4-1 it. Send BDD in mid. BDD does not have a Baron buff. So Perfect comes over.
Yeah, we'll try to... It's so hard to siege against this team, though. Even with Baron, it's pretty uncomfortable into the Anivia Caitlyn. And it's hard for anyone to walk up and hit the tower. Like, if Jhin gets an auto down in the tower with Rapid Fire Cannon, it does good damage. But you can see Aiming is trying. Relmo comes in, but I think it's a fake out.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, like, what? That's insanity.
The fake out to zone them away, but yeah, it would be crazy.
All right, Perfect. He's been really struggling in this spot. You can see how much CC comes through. The Temper Fate is there. Can they get a trap down is really a question. They get the Anivia stun. BDD, super low, gets a giant shield, though. He's trying his best to chunk them out, but he is not having the same effect, and now Cuzz has to flash away. And you see KT will have to respect this as now the tiny magical journey.
Oh, the pillar! Oh, the pillar was so good. Just blocks the magical journey.
Yeah.
Oh, Cuzz saving his mid laner there. Again, not the fight KT wanted, not panning out exactly as it hoped. And I think the problem is when they're in the base, it becomes so difficult. They use the Realm Warp to zone them away, but without the Realm Warp, how are you ever getting behind BNK FEARX? It's already extremely difficult when they're in the base like this. But now, this is so easy for BNK FEARX to move forward, hold their ground. They're never threatened at the backline. Daystar and Diable just moving forward. And once again, Perfect and Cuzz can't play the game. And then this magical journey moment, Cuzz is like, I've got you. Got him covered.
Yeah. Sad for Cuzz we didn't get the highlight of his pillar, because that's really all he's doing in this game at this point. Just dropping pillars.
Yeah, I love how we talked about the hype of the Trundle getting fed and what a Trundle can do when he's fed, and then it's just reverting back to pillar bot. Oh, he's trapped.
Yeah, he is going to be in a lot of trouble. A Subjugate will help out quite a lot, though, as he is incredibly tanky. Raptor now on the opposite side of this wall, as he had to go into the Crescent Guard, but now there's a giant pillar behind him, and Perfect's going to bring him back. And Raptor in a lot of trouble. He's still quite tanky himself, but eventually he does go down to the GA. Daystar takes a massive force shot, but the stun comes in onto aiming, but the cleanse is too much as they're getting chunked out here. Diable, though, still alive.
Aiming has ult.
And they took down Perfect. And now we'll see if these ult shots can actually hit. Cuzz trying to move forward. Here comes BDD. Into the egg goes Daystar. And that should be the end of this one. FEARX are running away. The end of this fight, I should say. Not sure about the game just yet, as we get the tether on the clear. Diable still full health. He desperately wants to help to try to do something, but unfortunately he is not able to do anything. The pillars and the follow-up here from KT are just too much. Is aiming, flashes in, and Diable, well, he's just dead. As he has his flash, he's not even going to be able to use it, and maybe KT actually do just end the game here. What a crazy 45-minute back-and-forth banger.
This one has been so hectic, and Raptor's not going to be able to do enough to defend. I think BNK FEARX put up a valiant effort, but ultimately BDD with these flanks was just crazy value in this game. Aiming as well in the last fight was so aggressive, playing so far forward there. Nearly got caught out by the Anivia, but was able to get damage up. And I think he just kind of got to the point of the game where it's like, I have the damage, I just need to hit things.
Yeah.